Thank you for attending this engagement today. I just wish that it will be a very involving engagement. Let us ask all the questions concerning eTIMS that we may be having, and the same will be answered. We can raise our questions on the chat box or also raise our hands. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Felix. Thank you for attending this session. I hope you enjoy it and you learn more as we go on. Yeah, let's get to learn something new. Thank you.
Thank you, Modoni. Thank you, Bernard. Thank you, Felix. As we wait for Lorraine so that we can see her camera. Thank you once again. Thank you for joining us. And also we are waiting for Team KRA TV to put the presentation on the screen. Also remember that KRA TV, we do have KRA TV that exists on YouTube and also on the official website of KRA, that is www.kra.go.ke. There you can find the link and you will find all the videos that we have posted. Most of you are waiting for the 6th month of this year so that you can start filing your returns. We have already posted videos on how to file returns. So kindly go to KRA, either on YouTube or on the official website, and go see how you are supposed to file your returns. Kindly subscribe, share, and tell your friends to tell other friends that there are so many tutorials. All the questions that are being asked, are normally being asked during trainings, all the answers are under that platform. So kindly let us utilize the platform. And also, again, remember to subscribe. Thank you. I can see we are at 1 or 2 attendees. We are still waiting for our presentation. 52 on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. I think we can make that number grow. Yes, kindly do so. Share the link as wide as possible. We are waiting for Lorraine, and we are also waiting for the presentation. Also, one thing I need to remind you is about the tax amnesty program that KRA has rolled out. Kindly take good advantage of that. Tax amnesty is basically KRA forgiving the penalties that you've had because you are not filing your returns. That is only for people who do not have principal tax, mostly the nil filers. You might find someone who had not filed their returns for five years, a period of 5 years, and they're afraid to ask for any KRA services simply because they might be penalized. No, we are forgiving, and that is running until June 2024. So kindly take advantage of that. Tell your friends to visit any KRA office or to go to again the YouTube KRA TV and see how you can file your returns and avoid penalties. So when you file, that's how you end up not being penalized. If you have a principal tax, kindly file, and then you pay so that by the end of June 2024, you will be clean. I think as at now, I will welcome Modoni to start with the training. Kindly allow us a few minutes as we wait for the presentation to be uploaded. Thank you.
Good morning once again. Thank you for your patience. So today we want to look at what is eTIMS. And I would say eTIMS is a simplified solution that will assist the taxpayer generate compliant invoices and transmit them to KRA. So before we got to eTIMS, we had the TIMS devices, which the taxpayers were using to generate compliant invoices. But then it came to a point where KRA got the consideration that not everyone was able to purchase the device because they were a bit costly. So KRA came up with eTIMS to support such taxpayers who did not have the capacity to purchase the device. So eTIMS was rolled out in February last year, and it was majorly, as I mentioned, for taxpayers who didn't get a chance to purchase the device, and also for taxpayers who had purchased the device but were having issues with the device to transmit the invoices to KRA. So that's how eTIMS came about. So we've been using eTIMS from 1st February 2023, and now we are at the phase where we want to say that all the taxpayers doing business, they need to onboard onto eTIMS. So as I said, it is a software system, and it allows for flexibility because we have different types of solutions that the taxpayer can use to access eTIMS. So on the next slide, we see, just as I've mentioned, it's a software system which allows for electronic invoicing. So I said we had the hardware device, but now we've moved to the software system. But all in all, we are saying the eTIMS and the TIMS devices work hand in hand because we want all our taxpayers to be compliant and to transmit their invoices to KRA. So next up, we see why do we say we need eTIMS? On the next slide, we see that eTIMS, one, it is free, as I mentioned. There's no cost effect to it because right now we are saying that it's a free solution that you just need to either download or you can access it through the eCitizen. It depends with the nature of the business, and we'll get to see all these solutions that we have that can assist you as a taxpayer to generate compliant invoices. Second, we say it simplifies tax return filing because I said for eTIMS and TIMS, the invoices are being transmitted to KRA. So since we have the data with us in KRA, it now makes it so easy for you as a taxpayer to file your returns because we already have the data in our system. So we've come to the point where we are now auto-populating the return for you as a taxpayer. So you just find that all the sales and the purchases that you've been doing, they've been auto-populated. So for it just to confirm, and then you just do the filing. So we see that the filing has been really simplified. So it's not as manual as it used to be right now. The third reason, it's flexible because we have various solutions that we offer the taxpayer. So KRA came to see that we also need very simplified solutions for some of our taxpayers who also were saying that it was a bit hard to probably use the computers or the laptops. So we've simplified the solutions and we've made it so flexible for everyone to onboard and to be compliant. We also see it builds compliance because now we all get to pay our fair share of taxes. We don't leave it to just a few, but right now everyone is able to be compliant because it's easy, it's flexible, and it's easy to do business with the other person because we are all compliant. Then we see there's an easy stock control because we have a solution that allows you as a taxpayer to record your sale and to also see from the stock how much you have sold, how much is being left, and you're able to manage your stock so easily. I'll get to that in the next few slides when we see the type of solutions that we have. In the next slide, we'll look at some of the benefits we have for you as a taxpayer. The first one is adoption of technology. because we are moving with technology. We are moving from the manual way of doing things, and now we are saying that as technology advances, we as KRA, we are also keen to advance with technology. So right now we've moved from the hardware, or rather we're still in the hardware because of the people who had complied with the Teams device, but we are now also saying that we are now on the face of the software technology. So there is also faster processing of refunds. I said the invoices are now being transmitted to KRA in real time. So it means that we will be having a visibility of all these transactions, and it's easy for you to access your refund. So because now we are not dealing with the manual paperwork, we have the visibility of these transactions, and it will enhance the processing of the refunds for you as a taxpayer. Then there's the business administrative processes. They've been streamlined because now, as I said, we are doing everything through the system. So we don't rely on the manual processes anymore. So it simplifies our administrative processes. We see there's a visibility of business transactions because as you transmit the invoices, we are able to see there's also the aspect of accountability in terms of businesses, and there's the minimized electronic tax invoice disputes. Remember, we had the VAs, which were making it so hard for you as a taxpayer to even claim your purchases. Now we are saying that with eTIMS, since the invoices have been transmitted, it will be so easy for whenever you're filing. It will also be easy because it will now minimize any disputes. In case you purchased from someone and they transmitted the invoice, then will not be having the VAs anymore. Then there's an improved customer supplier relationship because, as we said, we've all built our compliance now. So relating with the other person, it's going to be very easy, and it will promote businesses in our country. So the next slide, we look at who should adopt eTIMS. By this, we had the Finance Act, which now say that everyone in business, before we were dealing with VAT taxpayers who were required to comply to eTIMS and TIMS, but now we've gotten to the phase with the introduction of the Finance Act last year. We see that everyone in business, they have to onboard onto eTIMS. So by this, we mean that it's both the VAT and the non-VAT taxpayers. So that's why on this slide, you see we've encompassed everyone in business. We have the people in the border business. We can see people in the market, the mama mboga. We see people, farmers, carpenters, everyone. So long as you're in business right now, it's a requirement by law that you need to onboard onto eTIMS. So that is why you see we are now sensitizing everyone to ensure that you're compliant with the regulations and with the law in place. So next up, I'll discuss about the type of solutions that we have available on eTIMS. If we can move to the next slide, I'll elaborate some of these solutions. So here are some of the solutions that we have. We have the eTIMS simplified solution. We have the eTIMS client, the eTIMS online portal, and the system-to-system integration. So I'll begin with the first one. When we say the simplified solution, as I said, we have now simplified our solutions to encompass people who are having issues with technology. Probably you feel like you don't have the capacity of maybe a mobile phone or a computer. We've simplified the solutions to suit you as our taxpayer. So the first one, under the simplified solutions, we have the one that is accessible on the eCitizen platform. So we are now accessible through the eCitizen platform, and it is mostly for taxpayers who are sole proprietors and have very minimal transactions. So if you have an eCitizen account, you just need to log in through ecitizen.kra.go.ke, and just from there, you're able to just declare the person you're selling to and also declare the thing that you're selling. And from there, it's so easy, you're able to get an invoice very easily. We also have another simplified solution whereby you just dial *222# from your phone. If you have a Kabambe phone or you don't have a smartphone, you just dial *222# and from there you're able to generate a compliant invoice. The second type of solution we have is the eTIMS client. This is a downloadable software, and it is basically for taxpayers who deal with both goods and services. So as you see from the screen here, you can download the software on your mobile phone, on your laptop, desktop, tablet, or a PDA. So it is a downloadable software, and it's majorly for people who have goods and services in their premises. Remember, we said one of the key benefits to you as a taxpayer, you are able to manage your stock. So from this solution, the eTIMS client, you are able to download the software, and from there you record the sales that you have, and you can keep an account of the stock that you have in your business. So that is one of the key advantage of the eTIMS client. So the third solution we have is we can go to the next slide. We have the eTIMS online portal. This is majorly for people who deal with purely services, and for this one, they do not have any goods in their business. So it is a web application accessible through a browser. So I would give an example of maybe accountants or consultants. So for such people, they don't need a specific device, but they can onboard onto eTIMS through the eTIMS taxpayer portal, and it's web-based, as I mentioned, just like we have the iTax module. You're able to just log in and generate an invoice. The last one we have is a system-to-system integration. This is a more advanced solution for people who have bulky invoices, or they already have a billing system in place. So we are able to integrate their ERP system with the KRA system. So this, they can either do it by themselves if they have a capacity through the IT section, or if they don't have the IT team, then they can also access our approved third-party integrators who are published on our website. So for this one, the system-to-system integration, you need to have a billing system in place, and also either use a third-party integrators, or if you have the capacity in-house, then you can do it yourself. So next up, we look at how do you create an eTIMS account. It's very easy. You just on the Google, you just say etims.kra.go.ke. It takes you to our eTIMS taxpayer portal. From there, you should just click sign up and enter your PIN. We require you to enter your PIN and click on verify. When you click on verify, it populates your information for you to confirm that that is what we have. We majorly, whatever we have on eTIMS is the information that you had registered on iTax. So from there, when you verify your information, you just need to upload your ID. On the next slide, you need your ID as the director of the company, as well as a commitment form that you can access on the eTIMS page as well. So you need to fill out the commitment form as well as the ID. Those are the only requirements that we need for you to onboard onto eTIMS. We can move to the next slide. So as I mentioned, these are the only requirements you need. That is the ID and a filled out eTIMS commitment form that you can access from our website. So the next up, we just need to look at how do you onboard onto eTIMS on the next slide. So how do you need to onboard onto eTIMS? You just need to log into etims.kra.go.ke. There you'll find the service request tab, which you need to click on, and you need to select an eTIMS solution. So from the 4 types of solutions we discussed, you need to select one from here. Then you need to upload the documents, that is the ID and the commitment form which you filled out. From there, you just click on send, and from our end, we confirm if for sure you're the director of the company. And once we've confirmed everything is okay, we approve it from our back end, and you're able to do an invoice and transmit it to KRA. But these are for the solutions that are that the other solutions that we discussed, that is the online solution, the eTIMS client, and system-to-system solution. For the eCitizen solution and the *222 hash, you don't need any intervention from KRA. It's a process you can just do it on your own, because for the eCitizen platform, you'll just need to click some terms and conditions, and from there you're able to generate an invoice. So you don't require an officer from KRA to approve for you in case you want the simplified solutions, that is the eCitizen one and the *222 hash. So on the next slide, you will be able to see we have very informative information on our website, that is www.kra.go.ke. From there, you can interact with our website to see more about eTIMS, to see the type of solutions we have, and also the reasons why you require eTIMS in your business. So we've updated our website, and you're able to learn more in case you want to know more about eTIMS. And also from there, you'll see some of the frequently asked questions by you, our taxpayers. We've been so elaborate to provide all the solutions that you require from the questions that you've been asking. Next up, we have the public notice that came up on 27th December. And it was majorly sensitizing the non-VAT registered taxpayers that they now need to onboard onto eTIMS. And they were supposed to start from 1st September 2023, because the major reason about this is because from 1st January 2024, any business expenditure not supported by a valid electronic tax invoice shall not be deductible for income tax purposes. So this public notice was to let you know as a taxpayer that starting 1st January this year, you'll not be able to claim any expenditure in case it's not generated through eTIMS or the TIMS devices. Also, it was supposed to enlighten you as a taxpayer that we are still onboarding you, because the deadline is 31st March 2024. So we still have a grace period till the end of this month to facilitate you as a taxpayer, because after the 31st March deadline, then we'll be having some penalties that will be affected in case you've not onboarded onto eTIMS. Also, the public notice was supposed to let you know that in case you've captured any invoices off the system from now till the deadline of 31st March, then after you've onboarded, you're required to input the same invoices through the KRA system. So this is a public notice that went out majorly because you cannot claim any expenditure if you've not supported it through eTIMS or the TIMS devices. Next up, you'll see some of our contacts in case you want to get in touch with us. You can get in touch through teamsupport@kra.go.ke. Also, we've provided some of our telephone numbers. We are located at Jekwa Towers, 8th floor, Kenyatta Avenue. In case you have any queries, you are always welcome to pass by. I know you have very many questions, so at this point, I'll allow you to ask all the questions that you need, all the clarity that you need, and we are here to assist and support you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mudhoni, for that presentation. We really needed that. Thank you for telling us the types of simplified solutions that do exist, how to onboard on eTIMS. And I can see anonymous attendees saying, can you please have a tutorial for eTIMS for services versus goods, which seem to be the default for eTIMS services. Don't have, okay. Again, tutorials, we have them on KRA TV, which is on YouTube. When you scroll down, there are 11 tutorials on eTIMS on how to do whatever you are supposed to do, both services and goods, tutorials and explainer videos, a total of 11 videos explaining all that. Thank you for also bringing that to our attention and allowing us to speak about it so that people can get to know that we have those on KRA TV. I can see several questions. I don't know if they have already been responded in their inboxes. So I think we can go to the question and answer session. Also, if you have a question, you can raise up your hand and we will give you the permission to, we will unmute you so that you can be able to speak. So Cynthia is asking, okay, before we get into it, allow us to respond to questions related to eTIMS. If there's anything that is not related to eTIMS, kindly allow us not to dwell on that. Okay. Someone is asking, if you file for rental income tax, do you need to onboard for eTIMS?
Thank you for that question, Carol. So as we shared the presentation, we said eTIMS is for everyone in business. So everyone in business, it means if you are under MRI, that is the monthly rental income, you need to onboard onto eTIMS. Remember, with eTIMS, you're just doing your invoices through the system. For filing is different. So you still continue to file as you've been filing on iTax, but you need to generate the same invoices through eTIMS. So that's why we've discussed some of the solutions that fit you. So for example, if you are under the monthly rental income, you can join the online solution, which allows for purely services. So for eTIMS, we say it's for everyone in business, for visibility and accountability as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Modoni. Rachel has a very interesting question. She's asking, as a consultant, I do surgery. Who will I invoice, the insurance company, the hospital, or the patient? Yeah, she says that's not clear to her. So she's a consultant of Obigaina. And once she does surgery, who will she invoice? Is this the insurance company, the hospital, or the patients?
Hello. Okay, sorry, Ben. Rachel. I believe if you offer a service to anyone, you have to have an agreement with that person on how you get paid. So if you offer this like different kind of services to 3 different parties, I believe they should pay you differently. And for each service you do for them, you should invoice them through eTIMS for them to pay you.
Thank you, Felix. Someone else is asking, Handraj, is there a difference between eTIMS and TIMS? If you have TIMS, you still need to onboard. Do you still need to onboard eTIMS?
Thank you for that question. In this case, if you are already onboarded on Teams, kindly note that you are not required to onboard eTIMS because they both serve the same purpose, just ensuring compliance and transmission of invoices. So if you are on Teams, you don't need to onboard eTIMS unless you do that willingly. You are still allowed. If you are not comfortable with Teams, you are allowed to move to eTIMS, but you will have to deactivate your Teams device because you cannot be operating on both. Thank you.
We also do have some questions on KRA TV, and I'll start with Kui. She's asking, how do I delete a service that I uploaded by mistake?
Thank you for that question also. In this case, if you do an invoice and later realize that maybe it has a mistake or you have done an invoice by mistake, yeah, there's always an option for doing a credit note for all the solutions available. So you can do a credit note to reverse the same transaction.
I hope that is clear, Kui. Also, we have another question from Anna, still on KRA TV. She's asking, what can I do to recover my password if forgotten? What can I do to recover my password if forgotten?
Thank you for that question. So In case you are under the online platform, that is the online solutions, there's a place you can just say forgot password and you'll be able to receive a password. But if you have the e-client one, then you can get in touch through any of the numbers that we've provided here for us to reset the password for you on our end. Thank you.
I can see so many questions on rentals. Someone else is asking, if I have multiple houses with different rentals, do I capture them individually?
Thank you for that question. In this case, you can, if you have interacted with several eTIMS solutions, you can notice that the part for price is always, you can be able to edit the price at the point of doing the invoice. So if you register an item and maybe next time you are doing it at a different price, you are always allowed to edit the price at the point of making the invoice, because we don't want a scenario whereby anytime you need to do a service with a different price, you go registering the service once again. You can register it once, and once you do it on a different price, you can always edit the price at the point of doing the invoice.
Thank you for that. There was a question I had seen, but it has disappeared. She was specifically asking if by the end of, I didn't capture the period correctly, sorry for that. And the question goes, will there be an end of using ETR machines come that period? Allow me to check on that. But if you are able to answer her, kindly do so.
Okay, thank you for that question. So we don't have, right now we are saying the Teams devices and the eTIMS, they work hand in hand. They serve the same purpose. So if your device is working well and it's transmitting, then there's no need of you moving to eTIMS. As we said, eTIMS came to assist the taxpayers who did not have a chance to purchase the device or were having issues with the device they have. So if your device is working well, then we encourage you to continue using it. But in the event that probably it has issues and you're not able to transmit, then you need to retire it first through your station, and then you can come on board onto eTIMS. But right now we are saying Teams and eTIMS work hand in hand. So there's no difference. They serve the same purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Mudhoni. A follow-up question on the person who had asked about the 10 rentals is also asking, what about for a business school, for a business such as a school, should the school make 100 eTIMS invoices for every student per term?
Can you repeat the question?
Again, okay. So a follow-up on the person who had asked if they had 10 rentals, should they have an eTIMS invoice as computed as one? Then he's asking again, what about for a business school? For a business such as a school, should the school make 100 eTIMS invoices for each student per term?
Thank you for that question. In this case, we normally advise taxpayers to avoid lumping transactions, because that one normally may lead to maybe the taxpayer is unable to explain some of the invoices, and that this is why we normally advise taxpayers that each transaction should be backed by a valid TIMS or eTIMS invoice to be able to transmit and also track your transactions, because it will be much easier if all transactions are backed with a significant invoice on the same.
Okay, I hope that is answered. Ahmed is asking, suppose a farmer used the USSD method and he or she made a turnover of more than 1 million shillings, Kenya shillings. Then what are they supposed to do in order to be active on eTIMS? I'll repeat that. Suppose a farmer is using the USSD method and they make a turnover of 1 million Kenya shillings, then what is that person supposed to do in order to be active on eTIMS?
I think if the said farmer is already using the USSD methods, kindly note that the USSD is already an eTIMS solution. So if you are using it, you're already on board eTIMS. And that means you are active on eTIMS and transmitting if you are doing invoices using the USSD.
Again, allow me to go back on KRA TV. Sanjay is asking, if I'm using eTIMS and this data you are getting on the go, why should I do my monthly returns again?
Basically, we treat eTIMS as a system that basically, how can I put it? I don't want to say track. I can just say it's how can I put it? How can I put it? It's an invoice generating system tool. And so what we just do is like basically it's just for invoicing. We keep records of the transactions you're undertaking, of the business you're taking. So eTIMS is not a taxing system. eTIMS is just an invoicing system. So if you're obligated to pay any kind of tax, whether it's COT, whether it's VAT, you just have to do it as the law provides.
Okay, thank you. Back to our main link. Theophilus is asking, if you are VAT registered and you purchase from non-VAT registered person, can you claim that expense? If you are a VAT registered and you purchase from a non-VAT registered person, can you claim that expense?
Thank you for that question. In this case, how VAT works, it's normally input tax versus output tax. And in this case, you can only claim an input tax if VAT was paid in the sole transaction. So if there's no VAT that was paid on that expense, then you cannot claim that for VAT purposes. But you can also claim the same for income purposes. But for VAT, you cannot claim an expense that VAT was not paid on.
Okay, Anne is asking, what is the penalty for failing to onboard eTIMS?
Okay.
Thank you.
Madhoni, sorry, Madhoni, you can continue.
Okay. The penalty is twice the tax due. That's the penalty.
Okay, I hope that is clear. Frank is asking, is it possible for the person using USSD view his monthly sales online or through the eTIMS portal? Is it possible for the person using USSD view his monthly sales online or through the eTIMS portal?
As that it is now, the USSD invoices are not available on the taxpayer portal, but they are still available on our side. So if you in maybe in one case or the other you lose the message, because normally for USSD the message is the one that has the link where you can click on it and view the invoice and download it. So if in any case you lose the message, you can always visit the nearest KRA office and we can pull for you a record of your invoices.
Thank you, Bernard. Gabriel is asking, how do we deal with Uber services now that we find a solution for them?
Thank you, Gabriel, for that question. I've seen that question a couple of times on the comment section. So we have been engaging some stakeholders in the transport sector, importing sector, insurance sector, and we're still coming up with solutions and ways to deal with them. And once the solutions are, once we get to find out how to help them or get them on board on eTIMS, we will communicate appropriately to everyone who is involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Felix. Another question. What happens if you generate an invoice and you end up not being paid? What happens if you generate an invoice and you end up not being paid?
Normally, in this case, we will refer to the Tax Procedures Act, where the tax point is at the point where the invoice is issued, the payment point, or the delivery point of the good or service. So depending on whichever comes first in the three, that will be the tax point. So that is according to the Tax Procedures Act. So, and again, if the payment delays for up to, I think, 2 years, you are allowed to deem it as a bad debt.
Thank you. I hope that is clear. Wilfred is asking, for example, where a consultant incurs expenses from third parties, do the third parties invoice the customer or the consultant if those costs are to be reimbursed by the customer? Example, where a consultant incurs expenses from third parties, do the third party invoice the customer or the consultant if those costs are to be reimbursed by the customer?
Okay, I think in this case, that will depend on who is incurring the expense. Because if it's the third party who is incurring the expense, then they'll have to do an invoice on the same. If it's the customer directly, then they have to do an invoice on the same. So this normally will be determined by who is incurring the expense.
Thank you, Felix. I'm still looking for questions that are related to eTIMS. Okay, Theophilus is asking, once on eTIMS for non-VAT registered persons, and maybe you do businesses once in 3 months, do you still need to file nil return for the months that you are not in business? Once you're on eTIMS for non-VAT registered persons, and maybe you do business once in 3 months, do you still need to file nil returns the months you are not in business?
Okay, so if it's non-VAT, as you've put it, then you don't have the VAT obligation, which you need to file monthly. Non-VAT, remember, you file it under the income tax at the end of the year. So in this case, I didn't get your question very well, because if it's non-VAT, then you're not required to file on a monthly basis. So I don't know if probably they can unmute to just clarify, because for now, if you're talking about VAT, the month that you don't have the sales, of course, you'll be required to file nil, and only file whenever you get the sales for that particular for a month. For the month that you get a sale, that's when you need to declare on iTax as well, but still transmit it through the eTIMS platform. Thank you.
Martin, sorry, Theophilus, if you are able to raise your hand so that we can unmute you and respond to what Muthoni has just said, kindly do so. Meanwhile, we can go to Martin. And Martin has several questions. His first question is, if you had not sent invoices to tenants for MRI, for instance, so far, are we required to backdate or start from the current month? If you have not sent invoices to tenants for MRI so far, are we required to backdate or start the current month?
Thank you for that question. So remember, with the public notice that we had put here, we said that from 1st January, any invoices that you've done off the system till the deadline, which is the 31st March, you need to put them through the eTIMS platform. So this goes to say that whatever you had done off the system, and now you've come on board onto eTIMS, you need to pass them through the system. But for eTIMS, you can't go back. It takes the real time. So it's still okay. You just take the date as at that day, because you can't go back, but you are required to input the invoices that you had done manually through the eTIMS platform once you've onboarded. So for the ones that you're talking about that you did before you onboarded, then it's a requirement to pass them through eTIMS once you've onboarded. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Rachel is asking, is the invoice real time or end month? Is the invoice real time or end month?
It's real time.
I have another question from Pauline. What about expenses like labor charges and salaries that don't have ETR receipts? Will they not be considered as expenses? What about expenses like labor charges and salaries that do not have ETR receipts? Will they be considered or will they not be considered as expenses?
If you want to factor them as expenses in your businesses, then the laborers have to onboard on eTIMS through the USSD option or through the EPOS system, which is basically the e-citizen option.
To add on to that, in case the salaries have gotten to the threshold of 24,000, then they are exempt. Emoluments and salaries are exempt since they've already been captured through the pay. You've already filed them through the pay. That is in case they have gotten to the threshold of pay.
Thank you. Another question. What about insurance expenses? Are they exempt or they also should issue eTIMS debit notes? What about insurance expenses? Are they exempted or they should also issue eTIMS debit notes?
They are not exempt. We said everyone in business, they're supposed to onboard onto eTIMS. So even insurance, for those debit notes, they have to do them through the eTIMS platform to enable the other party to claim them in their expenditure when they're filing for their return at the end of the year. Thank you.
Another question, how do I go about with a supplier who is not eTIMS registered? Okay, rather how it was asked is, what if I buy goods from a supplier who is not eTIMS registered?
Okay, in this case, in case you need to claim any expense, kindly note that it's your duty to ensure that whoever you are buying from is compliant and is capturing your PIN as the buyer of that particular good or service. That is the only way you'll be able to claim that particular expense.
Okay, there was a question that had been asked earlier, and he says the response was not clear. The question was, what happens if you generate an invoice and you end up not being paid? So he's saying, are you supposed to pay tax for that? That's what he meant.
Yeah, once you issue an invoice and the same is transmitted to our side, you will be required to pay tax on the same, because as I mentioned earlier, the tax point, according to the Tax Procedures Act, is normally the date the invoice was issued. the delivery date of the goods or services, or the payment date, either fully payment or partial payment, that whichever comes early of the three, that is the tax point. So in this case, if you issued an invoice, then that will be the tax point.
Another question on regarding the same, do tour firms have to also generate invoices using Teams for hotel bookings, since the hotels also charge us VAT for the same? He's saying repeat the issue of invoices that are not paid. I'll repeat that. Do tour firms have to also generate invoices using Teams for hotel bookings, since the hotels have already charged us VATs for the same? Repeat the issue on invoices that are not paid.
Thank you for that question. So I remember through the presentation that we have made, we said there's no entity that is exempt. It's transactions that are exempt. So for this case, even the tour companies, they need to onboard onto eTIMS. If they don't have the VAT obligation, then they just issue the invoices as non-VAT. But if they have the VAT obligation, then some of the transactions that are vatable, they need to state them as under the 16% rate. So at this point, there's no one who's exempt from joining eTIMS. Remember, even if you are an VAT, there's no rate that is implied on the invoice, but it will allow the other person to claim it as a business expenditure. So in the event that you not pass it through the Teams or the eTIMS platforms, then it will hinder the other person from claiming that expenditure. I hope it's well answered.
I hope David is satisfied with that response. I can see questions on KRA TV, but allow me to avoid those questions because they are not related to eTIMS. Kindly, if you have questions regarding filing TOT, kindly, there are videos on KRA TV, and the tab live, you will get to see trainings that have been done. Please just tap on either regarding your tax obligation, and you will get your information from there. Also, there's a session known as Filing Tuesday, where we will have sessions every Tuesday explaining matters filing. So all your questions regarding filing, kindly or tungoje Tuesday so that we can have our responses then. I'm trying to look for questions that have not been responded to. Okay, Anton is asking, if I have an individual KRA PIN and I have registered a business which does not have a KRA PIN, how do I proceed to register eTIMS for the business, which at the moment has no KRA PIN? He's asking, if I have an individual KRA PIN and I have a registered business which does not have a KRA PIN, how do I register on eTIMS, that is the business, that has no KRA PIN?
Okay. There's a case like this that I handled, I think yesterday. There's a client who, basically it was like a farmer who wanted to do business. And based on the findings that I saw or found, the person had, okay, by having a registered business, it means you have a sole proprietorship. So basically, you're operating using your APIN. The client wanted to do an invoice that has, basically, he wanted the invoice to have the business's name instead of his name. So what I advised him to do is, if your clients are insisting that they have to see the business name on the invoice, maybe you can apply to get an individual PIN. Basically, that's a company PIN. And if they're comfortable trading with you using your APIN, it's okay. You can still use your APIN to register on eTIMS and to continue doing your business.
Okay, two questions that sound the same. One is asking, one of our consumers of our service has returned invoices and requested for Teams compliant invoice. Do we upload the same to eTIMS to serve the purpose? And then this question goes hand in hand with the next. Please enlighten on rentals whereby the landlord is not registered. Do we demand eTIMS invoice? Sorry, allow me to repeat the first one. One of our consumers of our services has returned invoices and requested for Teams compliant invoices. Do we upload the same to eTIMS to serve the purpose?
Thank you for that question. For question number one, if they are demanding a Teams compliant invoice, kindly note that if you issue them with an eTIMS invoice, it will serve the same purpose, because we said earlier that Teams and eTIMS are meant to serve the same purpose, to assist taxpayers with invoicing and transmission. So an invoice passed through Teams or eTIMS serve the same purpose. And for the second question, I think it was about a landlord who is not registered on eTIMS. And as I mentioned earlier, it's your obligation to make sure that any expense that you need to claim, you should be issued with a compliant invoice, and that will now mandate you to demand an invoice from the landlord to issue you with a compliant invoice, so that you can be able to claim an expense on the same.
Thank you for responding to both questions. Ronald is asking, kindly help me understand why a company may issue an ETR receipt and time to file, you get an error that the company is not registered for VAT. Kindly help me understand why a company may issue an ETR receipt and time to file, you get an error that the company is not registered for VAT.
Okay, thank you for that question. So the issue could be probably that particular client or taxpayer is put on special table. They may still have the VAT obligation, but it could be locked because of some non-compliance issues. So probably you should just advise them to visit any KRA station. And then because you can't claim in the event that they've been put on the special table, so it will prompt that message whenever you're filing the return. So maybe you can just tell them to visit a station near them for them to be assisted. Thank you.
All right, another question from Bernard is asking, of what importance is eTIMS for organizations that have no VAT tax obligations? Of what importance is eTIMS for organizations that have no VAT tax obligations?
Okay. The importance of issuing eTIMS compliance invoices, as we said, is for the purpose of claiming expenses. As much as you don't have a VAT obligation, remember your customers may need to claim such expenses. So you need to provide them with a eTIMS compliant invoice so that they can be able to claim those expenses.
Peter is asking, we all use electricity on our premises, but KPLC does not issue eTIMS invoice. Is it exempt from onboarding into eTIMS because when you request for an eTIMS invoice, they sound like sound like it is something they have never heard of.
We've had we had such a question asked at some point when we were doing some training in Nyeri, where someone was saying if they want to claim that they are paying electricity as an expense, how can they go about it? And KPLC is basically not issuing the receipts. Okay. As per the information we have, we know we expect KPLC to be offering the eTIMS receipts to their clients. So what we told the client is to just visit one of the KPLC offices, and we assured them that we will come up with a solution once we basically get to, let me say, meet up with the people in charge there and find a solution for their clients as well, as they aim to onboard on eTIMS with us.
Thank you, Felix, for responding to that. I can see 6 hands have been raised. Maybe we can respond to those. I'll start with Ahmed. Ahmed, please unmute. Ahmed, please unmute and go ahead with your question. Okay, I think we'll go to Martin.
Hi, hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Martin.
Sorry. Just a moment. My question was, in the event, since we are on eTIMS, and we are on Teams, and we've been working on integration to go to eTIMS, because our understanding was that if you're on, everyone should move to eTIMS. So should we stop the integration and just continue with Teams?
Thank you for that question. I think the information was misinterpreted somewhere along the line, because there is no directive from KRA that says that we should all move to eTIMS. eTIMS was meant for those who are not on board on Teams, and those who are on Teams who want to willingly migrate to eTIMS, that one is allowed. So if you are on Teams and you are transmitting and your device is working well, then you don't need to migrate to eTIMS. But if you are having issues with your Teams device and you wish to migrate to eTIMS, that one is allowed.
All right. Let me ask, if we opt to now migrate completely to eTIMS, we do a request to KRA. Is there a specific procedure?
As of now, the procedure for onboarding eTIMS is just the normal way, as those who are not on board on Teams. The only requirement from you will be for you to deactivate your device.
Okay.
Your Teams device,
right,
so that you can be able to operate on eTIMS.
All right. Sorry, just one more question. If we have suppliers who, an example, if we have a rider who's a boda guy, so we will require him to get for us an eTIMS invoice, especially for us when filing at the end of the year.
Yeah. If it's an expense that you will need to claim while filing your returns, then you will require an eTIMS invoice from them. And as Mudhoni said earlier, we have a simplified solution for such people. You can just dial the USSD code or onboard through the eCitizen platform, which we believe is accessible to almost every person. So yes, you will need an eTIMS, a compliant invoice from them.
All right. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Martin, just to add on
Yes.
what my colleague was telling you, if you are having any challenges while using the Teams CTR devices, you can migrate to eTIMS, sorry, by basically going on your iTax profile.
All right.
And accessing the Teams menu in your iTax profile, and then you just click the sub menu written retire control unit device to initiate the process. Then we'll follow through after that.
All right. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. All right.
Thank you for that. Margaret, I have unmuted you. Kindly, if you are ready, I think you can ask your question. Margaret, are you here with us? Okay, I think we will go to the next person, who is Wilfred.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Mine is actually a follow-up question on something I raised in the Q&A, and I think I might not have clarified it properly. So my question is in relation to instances where you have a client, for instance, you're a consultant who has been engaged by another client, and you incur expenses that are effectively reimbursement. So your client is supposed to refund that money to you for purposes of that service that you offered them. So in this case, you're not invoicing them as a disbursement, so you're not adding it to your invoice and giving it to them, but you're giving them the third-party invoice for them to refund the money you incurred. So for instance, accommodation in a hotel. Now my question is, if they raise it to you as a consultant, then it will be pre-populated as your expense for VAT purposes, and it will also reflect as your expense for purposes of CIT. But they're the ones who effectively your client is the one who's effectively supposed to claim that expense or claim the input VAT if they're claiming input VAT. So how do we go about invoicing in such instances? Do we tell the third party to take up the PIN of the client I have as a consultant, or how do I go about it?
Okay, thank you, Wilfred, for that. Maybe to just ask, how have you been doing it before? How have you been doing the invoicing between you and your client before in previous circumstances?
Before eTIMS, you used to just give them the third-party invoice.
Okay.
And then when they are filing their returns, they used to fill it as their claim, right?
Okay, yeah.
But now the return itself will have a pre-populated, so it will not appear in their VAT3 listing because it will already pick Alambo as the consultant, as the person, so it will not reflect anywhere for them.
Okay. Because I've asked because we are not changing how you normally do your invoicing. We're only saying instead of you doing it manually, just capture it through the eTIMS platform. So at this juncture, I would say probably, how about the way you've said they issue the third party invoice, is it possible to just continue with the same, but now they probably include the PIN number to enable them to claim the expenditure? I don't know if that is well understood.
I was just confirming if it's proper because, for instance, let's say I'm a consultant for KRA and I'm claiming accommodation for Sarova hotels. So I give KRA's PIN for purposes of my accommodation. Or
the person who's supposed to give the PIN, it's the one who's going to claim. So if it's Sarova who's going to claim that expenditure, they're the ones who need to give out their PIN.
No, I'm saying now because it's an expense on this other side. So let's say I'm consulting for KRA.
Yeah.
So I give KRA's PIN to Sarova and tell them use this PIN instead of using Alambo so that KRA can now claim it, assuming KRA was a bit.
Yeah.
All right, because that is the clarification we don't have right now. Most people will be invoiced, so I'll be invoiced as a Lambo. I will include it in my invoice and then re-invoice KRA. So you see, it's like there's a VAT on VAT because I'll invoice, effectively I'm invoicing 116.
Yeah. Or maybe
All
Wilfred, can we pick it off here, and then maybe I can get your details, and then we can maybe have a look at your situation in this particular instance.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
All right, next we have the Theophilus. Theophilus, I have unmuted you. You can speak when you are ready.
You hear me?
Yes,
Hello.
we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I was asking, this is an earlier question somebody asked. If you issue an invoice and the client maybe doesn't want to pay, or it seems like he's not going to pay, are you allowed to issue a credit note, and then the time he will want to pay, you issue him another invoice? Is that right? Hello?
Theophilus, thank you for that question. I remember my colleague mentioned about the points of the points of supply when VAT is due. Yeah. So
Yes.
in this case, if you receive the payment first, then you're
Yes.
required by law to pay the same, even though you've not been paid. So not
Yes.
unless it's a bad debt, that's when you can probably receive a refund from KRA if it's a bad debt, and you've proved
Yes.
that you've really tried to get this debt and you are unable to recover the debt. But at this point, you're not allowed to issue a credit note because you already did the sale, and part of that money was not yours, but it was supposed to come to KRA. So not
Yes.
unless you prove later on and then you can receive a refund, you're not supposed to issue a credit note.
Okay, this is the case, like I'm a contractor. I'm doing some contract somewhere. You start the contract, maybe you are starting on your own money. You've issued them with the invoice. They say they will process their payment as you go. But along the way, something comes in, they stop the contract. Now, you've issued an invoice of maybe you are supposed to pay VAT of like 1 million, which you don't have because you are relying on that payment for you to pay the VAT. Now they have stopped your contract. You don't have the money. If that invoice is going to be due, meaning you will have to go and borrow money, pay the tax. Now, that I was asking, if you have seen such a situation, maybe your contract has been stopped and you don't know when it will resume, can you cancel that invoice by a credit note? And when it resumes, you will give another invoice.
Okay. For now, I would say you'd have to prove that for sure this you've been unable to receive this money.
Yes.
Yeah, you'd need to prove that.
So that one, providing that proof, you have to walk to KRA offices or you have to do it online?
No, you'd have to come to our offices with a proof that probably you are unable to recover this money.
Okay.
Yes.
Then I have another question. For like, if I'm onboarding eTIMS right now, maybe I have a business that it is not in the bracket of VAT. Maybe I fall in the bracket of turnover.
Yeah.
And then after some time, maybe after 2 years, I get a breakthrough. My business now has reached a level of VAT. Will I stop paying turnover and be moved to VAT, or I'll still be paying turnover as well as VAT?
Okay. My colleague Bernard will pick it up.
Okay.
Thank you for that question. To answer your question, for VAT registration, you can be registered by when you reach the threshold, or you can register voluntary, or in any circumstance where the commissioner can register taxpayer when he deemed that there is the need to register the taxpayer. So in this case, when you reach the threshold, you'll be required to register for VAT. And once you register for VAT, the same will reflect on eTIMS. Now your invoices will have the will allow you to invoice on VAT.
Yes. And then my question was, once I'm moved to VAT, I will stop paying the turnover, the monthly turnover, and just pay VAT, or I'll be paying both.
Yeah, automatically once you're on the VAT bracket, you only pay for VAT.
Okay. The second question, if I on board right now, if I have a business that is just an enterprise name that has no KRA PIN, if I on board eTIMS right now with my personal PIN, and in future I get a KRA PIN for that particular business, can the swapping of the PIN be an easy thing, or it will be another process?
In that case, it will not be a difficult process. You will just switch your PIN from your personal PIN to the business PIN.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are my questions. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your questions as well. Next, we have someone who has identified themselves as TechnoSpark. I'm allowing you to speak. So if you're ready, kindly talk to us.
Yeah, I have a question. Our suppliers are still using the ETR receipts, the previous teams. So I was just asking, is it a must for us, for them to have their PIN, our PIN on their receipts, so that we can be able to claim the amount, or as long as they have paid it, it's okay?
Thank you for that question. And in this case, whenever you want to claim an expense, you should ensure that your PIN is captured on the invoice. Otherwise, if it's not captured, you will not be able to claim that particular expense. So always ensure that whenever you are incurring an expense that you'll need to claim, ensure you give out your PIN. And also when receiving the invoice, always there is a QR code. You always scan the QR code to confirm whether the same invoice has been transmitted, because once whoever you bought from does not transmit that invoice, again, you'll not be able to claim that expense. So just it's your obligation to ensure that whatever invoices you are having for claiming expense purposes, always ensure that they are transmitted and your PIN is captured as the buyer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Next, we have Gabriel. Gabriel, if you can hear me and you are here with us, kindly unmute, because I have allowed you to speak.
Okay, that time I think I just had 2 questions.
Gabriel, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I was saying I had 2 questions. So the first one was about the redundancy tokens that
we can't hear you. You are breaking.
Can you hear me right now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so the first question was about the prepaid KPNC token holders. The issue here is once you have already purchased the prepaid token holders, you will not get an invoice. So in that situation, will the expense still be disallowed? It will be allowed for tax purposes, because now you're going to receive an invoice compliant with this. Hello?
Gabriel, we have not heard you quite well, but for the bit I heard, I think your concern was on the KPLC prepaid tokens, and I think in this case, in case when you purchase anything, I think you are supposed to be issued with an invoice. So I don't know if this is the case with KPLC, that they don't issue invoices when the token is prepaid, but an invoice is supposed to be issued for each and every transaction.
Okay, just to add on that, yeah. Based on the questions, Gabriel, there's some noise in the background kidogo. So I'm saying, based on the questions asked on the comment section, I've seen issues to do with the tour agents, the KPLC, the cabs, the city, okay, the county offices. So I think what we can just do is just promise to just come up with solutions or feedback to handle these bodies and communicate the necessary information to the taxpayers who are willing to onboard on eTIMS or who want to onboard on eTIMS. And all we can do is just promise that we shall communicate real soon and give you a way forward after we engage with such bodies.
Okay, thank you. Maybe the second question, I don't know if you can hear me clearly.
Kindly speak.
Yeah, so the next question was about the project management services. You'll find that the person has an asset in form of a building.
Sorry, but we are really struggling to hear you. There is some background noise that's blocking you from being clear.
Okay, I've moved away. I don't know if you can hear me right now.
Okay, yes.
So my question was, in case you are given a contract, maybe by an investor, to manage for him or her his assets in form of buildings, and there are some customers that you're dealing with, who is supposed to issue an eTIMS compliant invoice, given that the management company will not recognize those invoices as an income on their end.
Again, we are really struggling. Ukianza unaanza vizuri, and then at the end, we are struggling to hear you, Martin. Maybe you can sort that out as we go to the next person. Ama?
Okay, so.
Okay. Okay, next we have Meshak. Meshak, you can speak when you're ready. I have unmuted you.
Hello?
Yes?
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. My question is on filing. We've tried to file our returns for this month, but now the pre-filled purchases don't have some of our purchases. What can we do to make sure that they're there? Because once you check them on the invoice checker, they are TIMS invoices. Are you there?
Yes, you are being responded to.
Okay.
Okay. I think Meshach, because
Yes.
okay, based on your issue, I think it's like a company or personal based issue. I think the best solution will be just to come to our offices and we get to see what's wrong, if the invoices are transmitting or not. And
Yes.
if not, we see how we can help you. See,
Okay.
that's okay.
That's okay. Exactly. Where do we come?
You can come to any TSO. You can come to Times Towers, or you can even go just to your respective tax service office. So if it's Samia, you can go to Samia, or if it's west of Nairobi, you can come to west of Nairobi. It's okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you for that. That was quite a good session. In the essence of time, I can see we have consumed quite a lot. Most questions are repetitive, and I'm glad that those who raised their hands were able to ask the questions and they have been responded accordingly. Again, if your question has not been answered, there are so many training sessions on KRA TV. Just go on YouTube, search KRA TV, click on the first logo that you get to see, go under the live tab. You will get all the training sessions that have taken place regarding all tax heads and all tax obligations that we have registered under. Also, when you go to the tab that is labeled videos, you will get to see different tutorials we have for eTIMS. As I had said earlier, and allow me to repeat, we have 11 videos on how to go about eTIMS, both for goods and services. Kindly make use of those videos, and thank you so much for that. Also, subscribe so that you can get to be notified each and every time we get to upload a video, we get to have trainings, we get to have whatever it is that is informative to you and concerning you. As at now, both for the Zoom session and the KRA TV session, I think I will declare this session an end. Maybe anyone who from my people that we were with, Bernard, Mudoni, Felix, and Lauren. By the way, Lauren has not spoken. She was our sign language interpreter, but unfortunately, mambo ya mitambo hatuwezi tatua. So we can have maybe our the rest of the team, that is Bernard, Muthoni, and Lorraine, maybe have their last words, and then we can close this session.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for attending the session. We are still here to assist you in case you have any queries. You can reach out through the contacts we give. We are here to support and assist you in the compliance. Thank you.
Mine is to just thank all of us for being patient and attending this session. It was a really interactive session. You guys were really willing to learn and know more about eTIMS. We highly appreciate that. And also, just as my colleague has said, if you encounter any issues, our lines are open. Our offices are also open. You can always visit and get a solution to any issue you are encountering. Involving eTIMS. Mine is just to wish you a very nice afternoon and see you again in some other training. We always have most of this, so just purpose to attend, and you will understand all that it has concerning eTIMS and other tax obligations. Thank you.
So I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the team for accommodating us and for giving us good feedback in terms of what you're going through as taxpayers. And I'd just like to say that any kind of issues raised, maybe concerning the bodies that you guys mentioned earlier, the KPLC, the KEBS, the county offices, I'd just like to say that we will find good solutions for those issues, and we will act on them appropriately and give you feedback as quick as we can, so that you can have it easy as you continue doing your business and as you file your returns as expected. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you, Mudhoni. Thank you, Felix. Lorraine has asked me to tell you to be patient. There's a video that will drop soon. We'll have our sign language interpreter explain to us all things concerning eTIMS. Thank you once again. We started with God. I think it's also important that we finish again with God. So let us pray. Heavenly Father, we humbly once again come before you this moment. We thank you for this great session. We thank you that you have enabled us to respond to the questions. We pray that may this take place next time, and may we understand and put what you have learned into practice. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Okay, I think we can now leave